The John Lebang Show has been known to make people laugh, sing, think, scream, throw things in rage, and generally lose their minds. Listener discretion is advised.
Worldwide and out to the greater universe, you're listening to The John Lebang Show.
Greetings, Earthlings, and alert the media. This week's second hour of The John Lebang Show is headed your way. Another 60 minutes of sonic vibrations are getting ready to enter your eardrums, travel throughout your body, and give you rock and roll stimulation. Because everyone needs a little rock and roll stimulation, and this hour we're dedicating to rock and roll, the rock business, music industry, and of course the radio business. In the second half hour, if you're going to stick around, you're going to hear me talking about my thoughts about the Chris Cornell passing, suicide, and, well, the depressant medication that so many people are on. In fact, I even have a conspiracy theory to go along with that. Later on in the broadcast, we're going to be talking about the Banger Top 10 affiliates for the month of May. There's some new stations up there and some stations that have fallen out of the top 10, and one particular station that it's amazing me that they haven't been in the top 10 at all. But before we get to all that, we still got to talk about, well, our good friend and new monthly segment here on the John Lebang Show. In the second segment, we're going to be discussing Rock'n'Roll Unravelled. That's it, our new segment with our good friend and author Derek Shelmerdine. And we're going to be discussing what happened in rock and roll history in the month of May, as well as some bands that are still around and they're touring and where you might be able to catch them. So that's an exciting hour awaiting you. And I mean, that's just all jam-packed in there. And we still have Cool or Uncool way at the end of the show. So you've got to stick around for all that. I mean, it's so much packed in. You thought the first hour this week had a lot in it. Well, this hour is even more packed. But this time, we're going for the stimulation, the rock and roll stimulation in your heart and soul. And to begin with a little rock and roll and a little movie news, to be honest with you. If you didn't know, Sir Paul McCartney is having a cameo spot inside the new Pirates of the Caribbean movie. He is playing Uncle Jack, Jack Sparrow's uncle. They couldn't get Keith Richards to make another appearance for this movie, so they went out there and they were like, well, who could we bring in? And the producer of the movie or the director just calls up or texts Paul McCartney and say, hey, you want to be part of a movie? We got this Pirates of the Caribbean going on, and, well, we want you, Mr. Sir Paul McCartney, to be a part of the Pirates of the Caribbean universe. And now he's Uncle Jack in the Pirates of the Caribbean. And technically, if you have the canon of the Pirates of the Caribbean, Jack Sparrow's uncle, Uncle Jack, is related to Keith Richards, who's another relative of Jack Sparrow in the Pirates of the Caribbean canon. So it's good to have Keith Richards and Paul McCartney, two of the longest lasting rock and roll stars, still out there doing stuff. They're making movies and they're still performing. I believe Paul McCartney's coming to town here not too far from now, not in the distant future. not too far into the distant future. I'm all tongue-tied because this evening has so much going on that I'm so excited that I can hardly contain myself. And now I'm getting all tongue-tied and everything. And I got to slow down. There's still a lot to talk about. We've had some other rock and roll news we're going to need to get to at some point here. We're going to add to the show. But the fact that Paul McCartney and Keith Richards in the Pirates of the Caribbean canon are relatives. I mean, that's a great combo, don't you think? Two of the longest lasting musicians. They should start a band together. McCartney and Richards, and just jam. Just have an all-star band like that. But the Stones are still going, so Keith Richards probably doesn't want to give up the time to the Rolling Stones. Hang on, folks. We got a phone call coming in. You're listening to the John LeBang Show.
Join the radio revolution right here.
It's better than some good Thai stick, man. Yes, I would like some too. And in more tragic rock and roll news, Greg Allman, the legendary frontman of the Allman Brothers, has died at 69 years old. Damn, another one bites the dust.
If this keeps going, Shady, there ain't going to be any rockers left.
Did you like the Allman Brothers, Uncle Shady? Yeah, they weren't too bad. They had some good tunes, a little bit of that southern rock and roll. I prefer a little harder stuff myself. Hillbilly liked them.
Yeah, the Allman Brothers had some really great tunes. I never got a chance to see them, though.
I never heard of them before, Uncle Shady. Well, that's because you listen to that crap music. Uncle Shady, it's called rap music. Well, it's crap to me. Well, how many of them are left, Uncle Shady? What do you mean, rockers? Uh-huh. You said another one bites the dust. Well, as long as Keith Richards stays alive, we've got some hope. Who's that, Uncle Shady? What, you don't know him either? Well, no, Uncle Shady. Jesus, Leroy. All these years with me and you never heard of Keith Richards? Well, I heard the name before, Uncle Shady, but I don't know who it is. From the Rolling Stones. Oh, that magazine, Uncle Shady? No, not the magazine. That's a piece of crap. I'm talking about the band. Well, what songs do they sing, Uncle Shady? Well, like Jumpin' Jack Flash and Satisfaction. Oh, I heard that. But that's a girl singing, Uncle Shady. What are you talking about, Leroy? Is that song R-E-S-P-A-C-T? No, you're thinking of Respect. Oh, well, at least there's Justin Bieber, Uncle Shady. Who? Justin Bieber, Uncle Shady. My God, Leroy, you're stupid. Justin Bieber isn't a musician. He's an idiot. There's a big difference.
You can say that again.
Keith Richards is a rock and roll star, kind of like Paul McCartney. Who's that, Uncle Shady? Haven't you ever heard of the Beatles? You mean that little bug, Uncle Shady? No, but if you keep asking dumb questions, you're going to be bugging me. Where are you going with this, Uncle Shady? I'm just saying all the good rock bands are dying off, and hopefully Keith Richards and Paul McCartney don't die off.
Yeah, pretty soon there ain't going to be any good bands to listen to.
You got a point there, Hillbilly. Maybe we should start a band to keep rock and roll alive. You know how to play an instrument, Uncle Shady? Damn right I do. I play bass guitar. Hillbilly, you want to join the band?
Well, I don't know how to play too many instruments, Shady.
Well, tell me what instruments you do know.
Well, I can play the washboard.
That's kind of like percussion. We'll take it. Now all we need is a drummer, a guitar player, and a singer. Did someone say they needed a singer? Yeah, that was me. Well, I can sing. Can you sing rock and roll? Oh, I love the rock and roll. Well, we'll try you out. Well, now we need a drummer and a guitar player. Well, I can play drums, Uncle Shady. Listen here. We know you're used to beating it, but this is a whole different thing. They don't allow that on stage.
I heard Iggy Pop tried that.
Well, that's Iggy. He can do whatever he wants. We're not that weird. But I want to try, Uncle Shady. Well, let me think about it. Okay, I thought long enough. We'll give you a shot. Now we just need a guitar player.
Well, John knows how to play guitar.
Yeah, but he's already in a band. And he's got that ego and all.
Well, I don't know anyone else that can play guitar, Shady.
Well, let me give him a call and see what he thinks. What's the number? Okay. You're calling the John LeBang Show. Who's this? Hey, John, it's Shady. Shady, we're in the middle of a show. What do you want? Listen, we're going to start a band over here, and we want you to play guitar. Well, couldn't you ask me this after the show?
No, we're inspired right now.
Well, I don't know, Shady. I'm already in one band.
Listen, that band ain't doing anything anyways.
Well, I don't know, Shady.
Listen, you're in the band whether you like it or not.
Well, what's the band called?
Well, let's see. Shady Superfly Sexy Band. How's that?
Well, what kind of music are we going to play?
Anything that doesn't suck, John.
I mean, are we going to play originals? Are we going to play covers?
We'll do a mixture of both, and I'll write all the songs.
Well, I might want to write a tune or two.
Listen, we're not doing that hillbilly stuff, so you can count yourself out.
Shady, can I get back to the show now?
Oh, yeah, I forgot, John. Band practice is after the show.
Okay, thanks for your call.
You're listening to the John LeBang Show.
It's hydroponic radio for your brain, man.
Feel smarter yet?
Well, as we only have a few minutes left before we have to take our first break, ladies and gentlemen, I want to tell you about our contest we are running here on the John LeBang Show this evening. It's a pretty simple contest. All you have to do is listen. We're going to be talking about bands the whole evening. All you have to do is write down 4 of the bands we mentioned. We're probably going to mention 8 or 10 bands tonight. And then go to the website, www.jlebang.com. Click on the link that says enter here. Type in your name, your email address, and 4 of the bands that you hear mentioned tonight, you list the 4 bands and you choose one of the next 5 prizes, and then you hit the enter button and boom, you're in. Now, what are the prizes, you may ask? Well, I have a 3-pack of tickets to Grunge Night at St. Andrews Hall right here in Detroit, Michigan. That is for June 23rd, 2017. It's a 3-pack of tickets. You can win that. If you don't want that, then you could choose a brand new CD from Metallica, Hardwired to Self-Destruct. We've got a brand new in the package CD for you if that's what you want. If maybe you don't want that, maybe you want a J. LeBang The Rit CD. That is also one of the prizes you can choose from. Now, let's say you don't want a CD. Maybe you don't even want to go to the show. Maybe you need a t-shirt. Well, we've got a few of those. Maybe you want to pick the Wrecking Crew t-shirt, the Motley Crue tribute band out of Detroit here. We've got one of their t-shirts that you could choose as the prize, or we have one of our biggest and favorite groups here on the John LeBang Show, the Dark Clouds. We have a t-shirt from them, and you can pick one of those 5 prizes. All you have to do is go to the website, click on the link that says enter here, then be the 3rd person to submit your entry. That's it. Easy peasy, ladies and gentlemen. You can win one of those 5 fabulous prizes just by listening, going to the website, and doing a little clicking. How easy is that? We're up against our first break, ladies and gentlemen. When we return, Rock'n'Roll Unravelled with author and great friend of the show, Derek Shelmerdine.
Don't think about touching that dial.
That would be a mistake.
The John LeBang Show will be right back after this.
That's guaranteed, man. Like some good Thai stick.
If you are elderly, disabled, receiving SSI or Medicaid, and you have a medical need or require assistance with daily housework, shopping, grooming, medication, you may qualify for housekeeping at no cost. Call now. VIP Home Healthcare, 248-579-3805. VIP Home Healthcare, there when you need them. That's 248-579-3805. Check out the new book from Derek Shelmerdine,
Rock'n'Roll Unravelled.
It tells the story of rock and roll from its roots right up until the mid-70s punk.
Rock'n'Roll Unravelled.
Not just the music, but also the events that shaped the music.
Rock'n'Roll Unravelled.
It includes the backgrounds to recording sessions, singles, album releases, births and deaths, epic concerts, and festivals.
Rock'n'Roll Unravelled.
Shelmerdine has made a painstaking effort to document pretty much every event that would prove significant in shaping popular music.
Rock'n'Roll Unravelled.
Purchase the book at www.rock'n'rollunraveled.com. Follow them at Twitter at R&R Unraveled, and look them up on Facebook at Rock'n'Roll Unraveled.
Rock'n'Roll Unraveled.
By author Derek Shelmerdine.
Available now. You're listening to the John LeBang Show.
It's hydroponic radio for your brain, man.
Feel smarter yet?
And welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. As we continue the broadcast this evening, we are bringing in a good friend of ours who's coming in on a monthly basis to give us the background, the history, and what's also going on in rock and roll. Mr. Derek Shelmerdine, how are you, sir?
I'm very well, thanks. Good to talk to you again.
Thank you, sir. Before we get started, I wanted to publicly thank you for this awesome piece of book that you sent me. I mean, it's more than a book. It's really the history of rock and roll, and I wanted to thank you and tell everybody that they really should be checking out your book, Rock'n'Roll Unravelled, because this, when I got this in the mail, Derek, I had no idea how much information you had in this book. It is incredible. It is one of the, I mean, this book, what, weighs like 10 pounds?
There's a lot of it.
So
100-page hardback.
Right. So let's go on, and what do you have for us this month in rock and roll?
Well, there's some really interesting bands from back in the 60s and 70s who were still touring around. And one of the first I thought would be good to look at was Buffalo Springfield. I mean, they actually all parted company on the 5th of May, 1968. And they'd only been together about a couple of years, just over a couple of years. But the way they met was quite fun. Neil Young and Bruce Palmer were in Neil Young's car, and Steve Stills and Rich Furry were going the other way, and they recognized each other. The stories vary as to how they actually came together, whether it was a U-turn or whether they were in a traffic jam. But the long and the short of it was the four guys, Neil Young, Bruce Palmer, Steve Stills and Richie Furry, got out, and like a good Judy Garland film, they decided, well, hey guys, why don't we form a band? So they recruited Dewey Martin, and in they came. They had Buffalo Springfield. And as I say, their final gig was on the 5th of May, 68, at Long Beach Arena in California. And they all went on, well, most of them went on to long-term success. Jim Messina, Richie Furry formed Poco, who performed for many years to come with various people. Steve Stills joined David Crosby from the Byrds, Graham Nash from the British band The Hollies, and they formed Crosby, Stills and Nash. Neil Young went off on a solo career. Dewey Martin continued to use the name New Buffalo Springfield, but apparently Neil Young and Steve Stills took a dim view of this, so that name didn't last too long. And happy birthday, Richie Furry. Born on the 9th of May 1944. Now, in terms of what they're doing today, Neil Young is having 2017 off. He's decided to put his feet up and is probably having a beer, watching the sun come up, go down as we speak. But Steve Stills is on tour. He's on tour with Judy Collins in America. You can catch him between the 26th of July and the 26th of August. So any Steve Stills fans out there, love the one you're with. He's touring at the moment.
Interesting. And the band was formed right there in the street, eh?
Well, apparently, because Neil Young and Steve Stills knew each other from way back, and they were apparently in Neil Young's hearse. Presumably there was no coffin in the back. And yeah, pretty much they decided to get together, recruited Dewey Martin, and they had a band. So I think that's a great story.
Oh, that's awesome. Totally cool.
But one of the strangest, most convoluted sort of band histories, like probably in rock and roll history, was the Drifters, one of the most successful vocal groups of the 1960s. Clyde McPhatter was the guy that actually started them off, and he was signed up to Atlantic on the 7th of May 1953. He came from a band called the Dominoes, who famously had a big hit, 60 Minute Man, in 1950. And it was one of those early R&B songs that attracted a white audience to R&B. And he put the first lineup together from an old band of his called the Mount Lebanon Gospel Singers. They recorded a couple of sides, but the record label was deeply unimpressed with that. So he basically sacked them and brought in Bill Pinkney, Andrew and Gerhard Thrasher, and Willie Furby. And they recorded the first single. The manager, George Treadwell, when Clyde McPhatter left to join the army in early 1955, George Treadwell took over the legal rights to the name. And on the 30th of May 1958, things didn't go well at all for the people who were the current Drifters. They were playing a gig with Ray Charles at the Apollo in New York, and on the bill that night was the Crowns. Now, the lead singer was Bobby Hendricks at that time. He'd left. The band hadn't had a hit record for over a year, so George Treadwell decided that he'd sack the entire band at the end of that week's residency, and he recruited the Crowns, whose lead singer was Benny King, and he called them the Drifters because he had the rights to the name. One of the guys who'd just been sacked, Bill Pinkey, he actually formed another band called the Original Drifters. So for quite a while, there were two opportunities to see the Drifters in action. And over the years, there have been numerous versions of the Drifters. Just before moving off, the sort of things that happened in May, in 1964, they recorded Under the Boardwalk. But sadly, literally the evening before, their lead singer at the time, Rudy Lewis, he died. But Johnny Moore, who was another lead singer in the band, because they have had a lot of lead singers, he stepped into the breach and they recorded Under the Boardwalk, which I think is one of my favourite Drifters songs.
And all these incarnations of the Drifters, they played all the same music?
Oh yeah, they would have, because the Drifters had a lot of hits and a lot of songs associated with them, and they would have had different cover versions associated with slightly different bands as well, I guess. But the group that's sort of legally entitled to call themselves the Drifters, they're on tour at the moment in USA, Canada, and the UK. So between about the 12th of August and the 22nd of October, you can catch them there. What I've done on the website is the link to the mostly to the official site of the band or the artist, and all the dates for the venues can all be found there. But in a rare occasion, because I can't actually find any official Drifters websites, because the name's more of a legal entity than it is a band in a way. So the websites for that are actually where tickets are available. But as I said, over the years you've had bands called things like the Drifters featuring Doc Green, Charlie Thomas's Drifters, and there's a band called Clyde McPhatter's Drifters that you can actually see now. Clyde McPhatter himself died in 1972, but his son, Ron David McPhatter, he now tours under the name of Clyde McPhatter's Drifters, featuring Ron David McPhatter. And they're playing at the Clayton Opera House in New York on the 18th of August. So again, multiple opportunities to see the Drifters going on.
That's incredible. These guys are all over the place and still going on. That's the thing. They're still playing music to this day.
Absolutely. And I mean, they are great, these bands. A lot of the guys, the voices is still there. A lot of them, some of the bands now don't have obviously original members, but they're still very close to the original arrangements, and they're always well worth seeing these acts. Third one I thought we might look at was Procol Harum, being the 50th anniversary of the Summer of Love. The classic Whiter Shade of Pale was released in the UK on the 12th of May, 1967. And again, they've got a really interesting past, because the Procol Harum actually grew out of an R&B, well-respected British R&B band called the Paramounts. And they only had one hit single, Poison Ivy. But they were managed by Brian Epstein around 1965, the guy that famously managed the Beatles.
Right.
So the Procol Harum was one of his less successful songs, but they actually split around 1966. When they went into, when Gary Brooker went into the studio to record Whiter Shade of Pale, there were none of the his previous band members around. That was actually recorded with a bunch of session musicians. So when it became a hit, he decided that he'd better get himself a band together to go on tour and promote the single. So a couple of guys from the Paramount rejoined him, B.J. Wilson, the drummer, and Robin Trower, who does a lot solo on the guitar. And the guy who was the Hammond organ player on the record, Matthew Fisher, in 2005, he decided to sue Gary Brooker, because Gary Brooker and the lyricist Keith Reid had the writing credits, and he decided to sue him. And over a 4-year period, it sort of toed and froed, and Matthew Fisher won the right to a share of the writing credit, but only from that time from 2005. And again, happy birthday to Gary Brooker. So if you were born on the 29th of May, you share your birthday with him. He was born in 1945. Procol Harum are on tour at the moment, and between the 8th of June and the 5th of October, you can catch them in the UK, Europe, Scandinavia, and Malta. And Robin Trower, who was the original guitarist, he's on tour in America and Europe between the 1st of June and the 26th of November. So again, lots of great opportunities to catch those guys on the road.
Yeah, Robin Trower is a hell of a guitar player.
Oh, he's great. He is great.
And you said they put the band together after they did work with session musicians.
The band itself had actually split up. What had happened is Gary Brooker met the lyricist Keith Reid. They wrote White a Shade of Pale between them. And when they recorded it with Matthew Fisher, who hadn't been at Paramount's, they decided they needed a band to take it on the road because it was doing very well in the charts. I mean, it became one of the anthems of the Summer of Love back in 1967.
That was typical of the artists back then. They would have different session musicians, and then they would have to put a band together for the road.
Absolutely. I mean, very often the session musicians were better musicians than some of the guys on the road as well, I think.
Yeah, that's why you bring them in the studio. You get the really good musicians to play the song because that's the permanent record of the song. That's right. So what else do you have for me this month, Mr. Shelmerdine?
Well, we've got Alice Cooper, a local boy.
Right around here. He performed at Aquinas High School way, way, way back in the day.
Brilliant. I mean, he's been around a long time. I mean, he started off with his mate, guitarist Glenn Buxton, in the Earwigs in 64. They changed their name to the Spiders 65, and by 67 they were calling themselves Nas. But they came across Todd Rundgren's band, also called Nas, and decided to change their name. And sort of urban legend has it that Alice Cooper was the name was as the result of a Ouija board seance type experience. But on the 19th of May 1969, Alice Cooper, called the band at that stage, released their first single, Reflected and Living. And that was the first single on Frank Zappa's new label, Straight Records.
So he was early on, he was on Zappa's label?
Yeah, he was the first single and the first album as well. And on Straight.
And he's been going as Alice Cooper since then. And what are we, 40 plus years now into this?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, the guy has one heck of a stage show, and he keeps changing the sort of genre of the stuff he's doing. Now, he's on a very extensive tour for the rest of this year, basically. And he covers the USA, Europe, Scandinavia, Canada, Brazil, Australia, New Zealand, Ireland, and the UK. So just about anywhere you live, there's almost a really good opportunity to catch him, because he's probably got one of the most visual stage shows of anybody around.
And out of all the artists you've mentioned this evening, Alice Cooper has not stopped. He continues to put out new music and has through the 80s, through the 90s, through the early 2000s. He's still going at full speed.
Absolutely. And I believe he owns a restaurant as well.
Yeah, he's very active. He was doing a radio show for a while. I don't know if he's still doing that, but yeah, he's one of the most active artists out there.
He is, and as you say, he's just never stopped.
Yeah,
and he keeps changing as well. But the whole sort of theatrical experience of his shows is really something to behold.
I know he went through that like punk stage through the like late 70s, and then he went into the glam rock into the 80s, and it was probably like 10 years ago or a little less, he actually had Slash from Guns N' Roses, and he worked with him on a mini EP.
Right.
He's pretty awesome.
The guy is so versatile.
I'm glad we have some good artists out of the Motown here after the Motown died off. You know, there was still some artists that still had popularity and recognition and was quality music.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Well, Derek, we're up against that break. Why don't you give everybody a rundown on your website and anything else you want to get out before we head out of here?
Okay, that's great. Yeah, there's a lot of this sort of information and more. Well, everything we talked about today on the website, and that's www.rock'n'rollunravelled.com. And very active on the Twitter, which is RNR Unravelled, and Facebook as well, and that's at Rock'n'Roll Unravelled. There's lots of information about various bands, lots of great information about the book. Tells the story of rock and roll from its roots through to mid-70s punk. And I'd love you to make contact with me through the website. Be brilliant.
Well, you're going to be back again next month with more information about who's still rocking and rolling and some of that history, correct?
Absolutely. I'm looking forward to it already.
All right, my good friend. Thank you so much for joining us again. That's Derek Shelmerdine of Rock'n'Roll Unravelled.
Don't go anywhere. The John LeBang Show will be right back.
You'd be crazy to change the dial now.
CRRM, CarePoint Billing Services. Their billers and managers are all dedicated to working for you to increase your profits. For more information, call CRRM at 248-579-3805. CRRM, CarePoint Billing Services.
Hey, man, it's at the bottom of the hour, man. Do you know where your kids are, man?
Forces of darkness, the treasonable minds who collaborate must, can, will be wiped from the face of the earth.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. Well, this happened a few weeks ago, and that's been eating at me for a couple weeks. I actually took the news to heart. It affected me pretty deeply to know that Chris Cornell, the official story, Chris Cornell, took his life, apparently, in a some kind of suicide thing. And I've gone through a great deal of emotion over this. Chris Cornell, to give a little backstory, he wasn't just the average rocker for me. I looked up to him a little bit. He was somebody that I tried to emulate to try to achieve what he accomplished. And I'd never gotten to see Chris Cornell in concert because for whatever reason, all the times that he was either in town, I was either too busy or wasn't able to go for whatever reason, maybe money or... But then they come to town, and by chance, my brother, we'd been talking about it for a long time, my brother came up and pulled some strings, and he got us some tickets to go see Soundgarden at the Fox Theater. And I was excited to see Soundgarden. And, you know, we went down there, and I could tell you, it wasn't as good as I thought it was going to be. There was a weird mood on the entire show. It was like an aura. But I expected a lot better out of Soundgarden. I didn't know some of the tunes. You know, they played some of the new stuff, and, you know, I haven't really paid attention to much of the new music in the last few years. The last I really paid attention to actually anything was Chris Cornell's solo project, and that was a little bit of a different style of music, but it was really great tunes. And then, life gets busy, and you don't, at least as I have gotten older, I'm not as into the music scene. I kind of stepped away from it, listening to other bands anyways. Even the classic bands, minus a few, like Sabbath, who put out a great album, minus a few, didn't really put out all that great of music in these later years. And so I listened less and less to music, taking on a talk show, a comedic talk show, for that matter. Also takes up more time, and I don't have as much time to listen to music. And since we don't play music on the show here, and especially commercial music anyways, there's no real chance to debut it, to take a listen to it, to expose it for everybody to hear. So when I go get a chance to go see a show, the Soundgarden show, and like I said, it was a weird place. The Fox Theater in itself is very strange. It's got some really detailed architecture, and there are a lot of symbolic symbols there. There's a lot of things in there that make you wonder, hey, who designed this? You can see Sheba there, you can see the Baphomet there, you see Star of David there, you see a whole bunch of things throughout the auditorium part, at least. I didn't travel through the dungeons of it, the backstages. I don't know what kind of architecture is throughout the entire building. So my brother and I watch the show, we leave, we head home, and I get home and I go to bed, and then I hear the news when I get up. A good friend of mine sends me the link to the story about Chris Cornell's passing. And it was utter shock that the night I got to see him for the first time, he ends up, by all reports, killing himself. And you get confused about this thing, and I went through a great deal of different emotions as I was trying to process this, because I couldn't believe it. Chris Cornell to me wasn't Kurt Cobain or Lane Staley. He had it together. He had a great career. It didn't make sense that Chris Cornell would take his life. And I went through sadness, and I even expressed anger at him because I was just mad for him killing himself. There are so many people, musicians in particular, that looked up to him in a manner where that we would try to emulate the guy, right? We would try to be like him, not in a form of idolizing him, but we said, that's what we want to do. That's what we want to be. This guy showed us the way. And for a lot of us struggling musicians who don't have nearly the life that Chris Cornell had, who wanted the life, just couldn't make it for whatever reason, hearing about his loss and the way it happened, it wasn't that somebody came in the room. This is the official story. It wasn't somebody kills him or he just has a heart attack where we can just go, there's an explanation there. It's like, why would he do this to himself? And I know his family's struggling with those same questions. So I went through a period of being mad at him for doing that because, you sit back as a musician who tried to make it in music and who tried to, really tried to get where he was at. And then him ending his life, you look at it like, what? That's not good enough? That's not good enough? You mean everything I was striving for in my life wasn't good enough? And you think, oh my God, my crappy little life that I have, this nothing life, because I'm a nobody, this nothing life that I have if you're telling me your life isn't worth going on. I mean, you had 3 kids. This guy had everything that a person like me wanted. It just never happened for me. He had the wife, the kids, the career as a musician. He had it all. And so when a person of, my stature, who's here on the lower food chain, and we're looking up at this guy and we're going, geez, man, how? Why would you do that? You're telling me all that isn't worth sticking around for? And so it affected me, and I got angry at him for it. It was beyond just being sad about it, even though I expressed those feelings too, because I was sad that Chris Cornell was gone, but I was mad at the person who took his life, which just happens to be Chris Cornell. And I lost a few people on my friends list, and actually a family member, because how I felt and what I expressed after it all happened. They thought I was insensitive, and I don't think I was, but some people can't handle certain words and certain ways of putting things. But then the story started changing a little bit, and we started realizing, according to the official reports, that he was on this depression medicine. And I'm like, oh, another one. Here's another guy that takes depression medicine, and somehow it leads to his death. It leads to him committing suicide. And then his wife comes out and starts blaming the medication, and then more articles and stories come out about the medication, and then they're turning it into a tragic story of a man who was deeply depressed and couldn't handle life, into a person, because they're blaming the drug now, into a person who couldn't handle the drugs he was taking, and it led to his untimely demise. And in my opinion, it's like worse. He's not just a depressed individual now. He's a person that wasn't smart enough to know that it was going to kill him, that it was going to lead to his destruction. And I got mad at that too. I got mad at people for that, because that's not how I want to remember Chris Cornell. I want Chris Cornell to go down in history as one of the great singers of all time. And now he's going to go down as the guy that couldn't handle it. He got everything he wanted. Or at least everything. A lot more than what most of us get. You don't know what a person wants. You don't know what a person desires in their life. But they took this tragic situation and they blame it on a drug. And that makes it, to me, in my eyes, worse. He just couldn't hack it. He wasn't smart enough to control himself, versus it was just deep, utter pain. And I don't want to think about that. Or at least, I don't want to think about Chris Cornell like that. But when you go over the official story, and this is John, now we get into a little bit of conspiracy talk. Or let me just hang on a minute. I want to back up. If it's straight up suicide and him giving up, what does that say to little people like me and other people who are not as emotionally strong as maybe myself? Because we've all been low. We've all been at a very low point where we've considered some very dark things. And I'm hoping people don't look at Chris Cornell's situation, if it was straight up suicide, as it being okay to give up. Because it's not. It's not okay to give up, people. You gotta find a way to survive. Look for one thing to carry on each and every day. Don't give up. There's always a way to get past those troubles, no matter how bad they may seem at the moment. Find something to believe in, to live for. And you people that think about taking so many drugs that it could put you on the edge of killing you, I have no pity for you there. You got to have some control of your life, even in the desperate moments. Even in the desperate moments. Now, with the little bit of that out of the way, because we don't want to get too deep, we don't want to depress the whole audience out there, I have a little bit of conspiracy that I'd like to get into. Something doesn't sit right with me with the whole story. It never did from the beginning. Maybe it's me in just disbelief. Those things are possible. But when you listen to the story and then you add in some of the other factors, you start thinking that, this may not be exactly how we're being told. Let's go over the situation, if I may. According to the timeline, after the Soundgarden show was over, which was 11:30 p.m., on 5/17, May 17th, 11:30 p.m. 11:30. There's a 13 in there. I want you to keep, just keep that in your mind. Keep that there. 11:30. 5/17. Keep that in your brain. After a phone call with his wife, his so-called bodyguard takes Chris Cornell back to his room. And actually, this is before the phone call to his wife. That his bodyguard takes him back to his room and he helps fix his computer. And then gives Mr. Cornell some of this drug that they're starting to blame it on, this Ativan. He gives him too many, in fact. He admits that in the police report. Then apparently he leaves the room. Chris Cornell calls his wife, talks about something. She gets disturbed by the phone call, gets a hold of the bodyguard. The bodyguard then comes to the room, has the key to the room, opens the door, but it's latched. So anybody who's been in a hotel knows that when a door is latched, it still opens, but it just opens a little way. And apparently, because he couldn't get it open any further there, he runs down to security. I mean, I'm just going to, if there's trouble, I'm just going to go, hey, Chris, are you there? Hey, Chris, you okay? You okay? But apparently his bodyguard decided, because he's a good friend, decided that he better go get security to get in the room because he can't get in the room. Security denies him, says they can't do that. Let him in the room, even though he has a key. Can't let him in the room. So then what happens? Well, the bodyguard kicks the door down. I don't know how many minutes is going by, whatever. Then after the bodyguard kicks the door down, or his friend kicks the door down, goes to the bathroom, finds it dead bolted or locked or whatever. Can't get in the room. Hey, Chris, you okay? Hey, Chris, you okay? Not hearing anything in the room. So he attempts to get a hold of security again. Security doesn't help him again for some reason. And then he breaks down the door, finds Chris on the floor with one of those workout bands. They're this latex rubbery band that you work out, so like a giant rubber band you can work out in. He finds that around Chris's neck. He wasn't breathing. The paramedics were called, of course. The paramedics showed up, worked on him for an hour, even though after 15 minutes, I think it's 5 minutes of not breathing, you're pretty gone. But whatever, 15, 20 minutes, they kept going for an hour. So whatever, they tried to that. They at 1:30 in the morning, they decide, they call it done. 1:30 in the morning, boom, there's your other 1-3 there. That would be 3 1-3s if you've been counting. You have the 11:30, which is a 1-3. You have a 5:17, which is 5 1 and 7, and you have a 1:30 in the morning. Apparently, he had one of the calipers, whatever these things are, the little things that the mountain climbers use, hooked around the top of the door frame, somehow wedged in there, with the rubber on it, the rubber workout thing. Guy 6'3" chokes himself on a door frame that's 7 foot, and that apparently is the official story. Well, I don't know if I believe it.
Where do you think you're going?
Hey, man, don't go anywhere, man. The John LeBang Show will be right back.
Are you crazy? Fans, do you need a video for your brand new song but don't have a lot of money? Then contact John LeBang. His reasonable rates, professional look, and fast turnarounds will help get that song off the ground. Contact him at jlebang.com.
And I'd like to welcome our new sponsor, Pane in the Glass, commercial and residential window cleaning. For a beautiful, sparkling shine that's crystal clear, call Pane in the Glass Window Cleaning. You can find them on Facebook at Pane in the Glass.
If you want to contact the John LeBang Show, feel free to send an email to jlebang@live.com. And if you're on Twitter, look him up at John LeBang. And don't forget to go to his Facebook page at The John LeBang Show. Banger. Now here's John.
We're giving out a little recognition to these stations that really put the time and effort into us. The ones that attract the most listeners, of course. It's a really simple format we run to determine who are the top 10 affiliate stations for each and every month. And this month, the month of May, we have seen some changes in the top 10. In fact, it's been amazing. One station completely fell off the top 10 when I never thought they would. They've been a great supporter of the show, and last month, in general, they didn't put in as much time in the show, and it knocked them right out because other stations didn't like being off the list last month, so they pumped up their promotion. They got on the ball, and they started promoting more, and all of a sudden you seeing stations fall out of the top 10, new stations, making the top 10, and one station that, again, I'm shaking my head over, that's not making the top 10, and I've been on them the longest. And here we go, ladies and gentlemen. At number 10, out of Chicago, we have 24.7 The Stream. Thank you over there at 24.7 The Stream. You guys did a great job this month. You weren't even in the top 10 last month, and you came right up and moved up and you were at 15 last month, so you guys did a great job over there. Moving in at number 9 is Radio Vegas Rocks. They fell a little bit from number 7, but they are still in the top 10. Up to number 8, one of our newer affiliates, Core Radio out of the United Kingdom. They weren't even in the top 10 last month, and this month they stepped up their game, got right in it, and really picked it up. They were down at 13 last month. Moving up to number 7, we have Vulcan Sound Radio, also one of our affiliates out in the United Kingdom. They're doing a great job over there. Susan Lennon and everybody affiliated with Vulcan Sound Radio. They moved up one slot from last month's number 8, so they're stepping up their game over there. Over at number 6, we have EN5 Radio, another station out there in the United Kingdom, and we're pretty big in the United Kingdom. They've come up from number 18 last month, and that's because they just started with us last month, and they did such a phenomenal job promoting. In fact, I'm very impressed with the amount of promotion EN5 Radio has put into the John LeBang Show, and they are at number 6. Coming in at number 5 this month over there in Iowa, and our buddy Bob with Code Zero Radio. They slipped a few spots. They were at number 4. They slipped one spot, I'm sorry. They were at number 4 last month. The guy they swapped places with moved up to number 4. Mike over there with IRN Radio, the Internet Radio Network. They were at number 5 last month, moved up to number 4. Mighty impressive. Rounding out number 3 is 920 WLON The Apple. Jonathan over there, and they're in the same spot they were in last month. Number 3, they're holding really good. They do a lot of great promotion for the show. They've done some extra stuff like doing videos and had us on the radio broadcast up there. So they do a lot of supporting for us, and I want to give them lots and lots of kudos. Up to number 2, and they were number 2 last month as well. And it's hard to be number 1, I'm telling you, when we have so many great stations. But at number 2 is 102.7 WSNR. John over there is doing a mighty fine job promoting the show. He's always liking our stuff. He's supporting the show in many different ways, and I want to give him a big round of applause for that. And, of course, our number one affiliate. They were number one last month. They've been number one ever since they become one of our affiliate stations, and that's Bubba Army Radio down in Tampa, Florida. I want to thank everybody over at the station and for giving us the opportunity to become one of his weekend hosts, and we're doing great numbers over there, and lots of good support is coming from everybody involved in there, and we want to give them a big round of applause. So many other stations jumping on the promotional support for the John LeBang Show, and just the numbers are up all across the board. It was a very, very interesting month tallying up all the numbers. Even this morning, I was sitting there counting up some of the last minute things in there.
Hey, John, you ready yet?
Yes, Shady, I know I'm running late.
All the time you're running late.
I know. I can't help it, Shady.
Well, let's hurry up and try to get this one in, will you?
All right, do you have a cool or uncool ready?
Yeah, but I thought we'd change it up a little bit.
Well, what do you mean?
Well, give me the intro and I'll show you.
This hour's cool or uncool is...
Tell us your favorite band for the cool and your worst hated band for the uncool.
Yeah, that's a cool switch, Shady. I like that.
Well, I know you like it. You like anything.
Well, that's not true, Shady. I'm kind of picky, actually.
Whatever, John. Get to the phone lines.
Our first call comes from Montreal, Canada. Wilfred, cool or uncool, your favorite and most hated band?
Lawrence Welk is my favorite band. I hate everything else.
Okay, thanks for your call.
Lawrence Welk, how old's that guy?
Well, he sounds pretty old, Shady, actually.
I know he's having trouble breathing.
Our next call comes in from Naples, Florida. Cora, cool or uncool, your favorite and most hated band?
Sonny, I love Elvis Presley.
And who's the uncool band?
And I hate Milli Vanilli.
Thanks for your call. Bless you, Joan. Yeah, I'm having a Hillary.
By the way, Milli Vanilli, that's a good choice for hating.
Up next, we're going out to Ottawa, Canada. Gordy, what say you?
I love Rush, eh?
That's a good band. Who's your uncool?
That Bob Seger, eh? He makes you fall asleep, eh?
Yeah, we call him Born Bob over here.
Okay, thanks for your call. Our next call takes us across the pond to one of our listeners in England. Henry, what say you?
I love The Who and Led Zeppelin.
Sir, you can only pick one.
Well, if I only have to choose one, I'm gonna pick The Who.
And what's the band you hate, sir?
That would be Nickelback.
Another good choice. I'm starting to like you, Mo.
Thanks for your call. Over to Chicago, Illinois. Peppa, you're up next. Cool or uncool?
Oh, I love the Prince and the Revolution, baby.
Well, he wasn't bad.
And what's your uncool band?
I'll be those hoes the bagels.
You know what, lady? Walk like an Egyptian and get the hell off the radio.
Okay, thanks for your call. Out to Sanctuary City. Abu, you're next.
Oh, I love rock and roll music, John.
That's fine and all, but do you have a favorite band?
Oh, I love Bon Jovi.
Figures.
And what's the band you hate, Abu?
Oh, I do not like the White Stripers.
You mean the White Stripes?
Yes, that be that band.
You don't support local music now, do you?
And I do not like Kid Rock.
What, he's a local boy?
Well, he cannot make up his mind. Either rap music or country music or something in between. It drives me crazy.
No, you're already crazy.
Can I sing a song?
No, goodbye.
Thanks for your call, Abu.
All right, John, I think that's about it for tonight. I'll talk to you later. Don't be late for band practice. Bye.
And that's it, ladies and gentlemen, for yet another edition of
The John LeBang Show.
the fastest 60 minutes
2 hours.
on radio. I'd like to thank all of my affiliate stations, but especially all the stations that made the top 10. Don't forget to go to my website. That's www.jlebang.com. Remember, you can enter the contest that we have for you this evening right there on the website. Thank you, each and every person out there that give me an hour or two of your time every week. I really and deeply appreciate it. And until the vibrations of my vocal cords reach your ears again, this is John LeBang signing off from the Banger Studios.
Tune in again next week. Same time, same space, same station.
Resistance is futile.